Sorry. Okay. Hi. Hi, you
Oh,
guys. Hi. Welcome to the Miles with Moms podcast, where I say hi 1,000 times in a row. Sorry. It's a podcast for moms chasing goals through all seasons of life. I'm Olivia.
I'm Shanna.
And we have a guest today. We have Amy Will, and we'll be talking about her in just a second. And we are bringing you training tips, mom and expert interviews, and the kind of best friend banter that makes you feel like you're on a run with us. Whether it's your first 5K, your next marathon, or a stroller tempo, we've got your miles and your sanity. We'd really appreciate it if you can rate, subscribe, and share our podcast with another fellow mama runner. Well, do you have an everyday hero shout out for us?
I do, and I'm excited to shout this one out. So she was submitted by Ruth. I don't know if you guys follow Ruth. She just barely had her first baby. Super inspiring. She's like a coach and everything on Instagram. Anyways, she submitted the _fit_Flanders. And she said, just ran a big marathon PR at 8 months post C-section. So I did a little bit of digging because I was like, I gotta know more about her story. That's not enough for me to be satisfied. So I clicked on her page and I was literally, if she listens to this, I was scrolling and I just watched video after video after video. And I was like, she's got to get on this podcast and we gotta interview her because I'm like obsessed with her story now. So anyways, when I clicked on her profile, I was just amazed. She came back to running 3 months postpartum, struggling at a 10-minute mile pace. So her pregnancy was, I want to say it was high risk because she had a miscarriage before that. And then she also had a C-section before that on her other pregnancy. So I'm assuming there's probably some kind of high risk or something with her doctor. She'll have to correct me if I'm wrong on that. And so it makes sense. She didn't really get cleared until like the very end of her pregnancy. And it sounds like she just did a lot of walking on her pregnancy. And then around 34 weeks, she ran a 5K. That was it. And so that's really all she did through her pregnancy. And so she came back 3 months postpartum. She had a C-section on this next delivery. She was struggling at a 10-minute mile pace. She worked her way up to an 8-minute mile pace at 8 months postpartum, then snuck in a 3:07 marathon time at Houston.
Wow.
Her 5th marathon, she's battled C-sections, miscarriage, and just kept fighting through so many highs and lows. Her pregnancy wasn't ideal, obviously, but I mean, she came back so damn strong.
Oh my
So
gosh.
anyways, I am just like in awe of this woman. I'm so curious what she's going to do next, like this upcoming year of 2026, like now having that momentum going, a good aerobic foundation again. Because if she can whip out that at 10 months postpartum, I think her fastest before that was like a 3:20. But she was like fluctuating in that range of like that 3:20 range for a little bit. So huge breakthrough.
That's wild. I had goosebumps when you just said that. That's crazy. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. This is what we talk about. Shanna and I have shared so many voice notes because she's like, what is the postpartum magic? And I'm always like, I did not have it. I don't know. I have no answers. I have no answers. I did not have postpartum magic, but there is this sense of like, I mean, granted, if I really think about it, like I think my daughter was 2 when I went sub 3. So that's not technically postpartum, but something was happening during that time, you know? So like, what is it? Is it mental that like we're wired differently after we have our babies? And there's like this sense of like urgency to get it done, like not PR times, but like getting the workout done? Or is it that like physically are we stronger technically? Like does something happen to us physically? Because I know that not everybody has amazing postpartum comebacks, but then you read something like this, because the 3:07, that's very fast, especially, I don't know. I mean, for me, C-sections are very hard to wrap my mind around because it's like a major abdominal surgery. So I'm always like, okay, so you had this major surgery and you have a little baby and then you do this incredible feat. So it's just really cool. It's super, like, I could think about that topic of why moms are able to do it. And, because sometimes I'm like, do we talk about being moms a little too much? Are we just too wrapped up in it? But then it's like, no, because we're doing all the things that regular people do, but with little people watching us as well, but that's incredible.
Yeah, I'm curious too. Like I read somewhere and I know I'm going to butcher the study, but it said something about the blood volume. Like it's
Oh, yeah.
almost like it's like you have your body is still kind of fluctuating from having the baby, that you're like the blood volume something, it's like almost like natural doping
Mhm.
during that process.
Exactly.
So I'm very curious because it's like it's a lot of women that I've been following because I'm like kind of I'm gonna be entering that world. So I've just been watching everybody's postpartum comeback and like trying to get hope from it. And I came across a study and I'm so curious, like I want to find somebody to like come on here and talk about it because I saw somewhere that it said it's like your body is still fluctuating that blood volume that you are like overproducing in pregnancy and then the baby is out, but you're still like your body's still trying to regulate itself. So it's almost like a doping effect. So I'm
Mm,
very curious, like if that's like legit or what, but there is some magic to it because you think about it, you think it would be opposite, right? You're coming out of postpartum,
yeah.
you have a baby that doesn't sleep. She or he is reliant on you. You're breastfeeding. If you're breastfeeding on top of that. So you're taking nutrients away from your body. And you would think that it'd be opposite, but yet it's proven time and time again. How many women are we seeing OTQ or get their best PRs in that first like year and a half of having the baby? Like
Mhm.
it's crazy. So there's gotta be something in there.
There has to be. I wonder, maybe because my iron was so low during my pregnancy, I was doing whatever the opposite of natural
Doping.
doping would look like. Like, please just eat some red meat.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's a really good point. It could be a combination of both, right? Like,
Mhm.
and just being sleep deprived and because that, like, when I think about how sleep deprived I was postpartum, it's I was very happy all the time. Like, oh, but they're so beautiful. I'll always be sleep deprived for you. And then versus now, I'm like, oh, don't get me out of bed. It's so cold. It's like the hormones. And so I just wonder if some of that is like transpires into your workouts and this like self-fulfillment that you're getting out, like finding that little bit of identity, and so you're addicted to it, like you're going to constantly go get in, like, oh, I have this sliver of time I can fit in a 30-minute run, and oh, this would be a good day to do a speed workout and stuff. So it's just, I wonder if it's just like a combination of it all. But yeah, I don't know. You know what, we should talk to a postpartum expert.
We
Is
will.
what we should do.
That's next on our list.
Yeah. And if anybody listens to this and wants to tell us your experience postpartum, then
Yeah.
like we want to hear it. Like, because I think sometimes we hear a lot of the highs, and
Yes.
like I think there are people that don't come back the same way. I really struggled, like when she talked about doing a 10-minute mile, like that I wasn't even at a 10-minute mile. I would have given a kidney at that point to run a 10-minute mile.
Yeah.
I remember sitting in someone's front yard just like, I can't go any farther. And
Yeah.
yeah, but I was just, I mean, but my baby was eating. That's all I cared about. So
Yes.
yeah. But anyways, well, we have a guest today. We've got Amy, and I should just roll right into your bio, right? What do you think? Are you good with that, Amy?
Yep, sounds
Perfect. So you guys would probably know Amy on Instagram as She Runs by Faith, right? Yes.
Yep.
And I didn't have it written right here. But Amy is a homeschooling mom of 4 boys living on a small farm in northern Minnesota. She didn't come into running through a traditional competitive path. Growing up, she played ice hockey and tennis, eventually walking on as a Division II tennis player in college, where she fell in love with training, teamwork, and the discipline of sport. After college, running became her outlet, along a desk job, and over the past 15 years, it has followed her through every season of life. From newlywed to working mom to staying at home full time, through moves, farming life, homeschooling, and 4 pregnancies, running adapted as life did. Early mornings, stroller runs, treadmill miles, and during long farm hours, the goal was never perfection. It was just consistency and showing up in whatever way fit the season. Amy ran her first marathon in 2010, qualified for Boston shortly after, and over the years began quietly chasing bigger goals alongside motherhood. After her third son, she started wondering if sub 3 was possible. Then, in 2020, while pregnant with her fourth, watching the Olympic trials sparked an even bolder question: how far could she really go? Since then, Amy has steadily stacked training blocks, breaking 3 hours in the marathon, joining the Dakota Distance Project, and continuing to lower her times all the way down to 2:45. Along the way, her family also walked through the loss of her mother to stage 4 brain cancer, a season that deeply shaped her faith and perspective. Today, Amy sees this chapter as a gift, a bonus season of marathoning that she holds with gratitude. Her heart is to keep exploring her in her heart is to keep exploring her own potential while encouraging other women, especially mothers, to believe that motherhood is not a barrier to meaningful goals, but often the very place where strength is refined. Oh, it's so incredible. I think that I'm really excited to chat with you because I feel like your story is very relatable in so many ways, especially because you don't have a running background in high school and everything. So,
Mhm. Kind of a late life bloomer, I guess, is what I feel like.
yeah.
I think it's really cool though that you come from a background of still a competitive sport, and there's something I've seen this time and time again as well, where runners that come from like a soccer background, a dance background, a gymnastics background, and then was tennis, I believe, right? It's like there's something in the mind that's used to competing at a competitive level. There's a sense of discipline and drive and some kind of like area where it's like able to bridge the gap over to the running world. Maybe not necessarily aerobically, right? That's one thing that we have to make very clear here is that you had to build yourself from the ground up. Whereas a lot of runners that start at a very young age or even high school or collegiate athletes, they kind of have had years to kind of stack this aerobic foundation to be able to like continue to add to it season after season. But there's something that is so interesting to me about the mental aspect of running as well. And that when you have that mental aspect in another sport, you're able to really translate that into the running scene. So I'm curious with starting with the first question for you, like running entered your life very gradually rather than all at once. What made you keep coming back to it in these like earlier years where you had multiple pregnancies, you had a lot of ups and downs, highs and lows. You weren't at a 2:45 marathon until just now. So you've had this long road that it's hard for people to see when you run their 2:45 and they're coming into your story at a 2:45, but they don't see this whole back history of you going like this the whole time, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm curious, like, what made you keep coming back? What made you keep trying and keep showing up season after season after season?
I think the main point of running that kept me coming back is that it's so accessible. So when I finished college, the tennis was great and stuff. It wasn't like a sport I loved. I wasn't good at the technical side, but I could run. So it balanced out to get by. But then when I started working my desk job and I wanted exercise, but was getting to know the people in the community I'd moved to, running was like, well, this is great. Like recruiting a tennis partner is so hard because who wants to hit with you for like an hour plus and then you hope they can get the ball back to you, or maybe they can't. I don't know. It's kind of wild. So I didn't have a lot of success with that. So instead with running, I was like, well, I should just, put I have tennis shoes. So put them on and then try it out. And I don't know why I had the hankering to it was like 5K, 10K, skipped a half, and just the full marathon really intrigued me. And I think it's because podcasts were coming out at that time, like the Marathon Training Academy. Um, as far as blogs, it was like the Hungry Runner Girl or This Runner's Trials were two that I'd read, but they were just making ideas in my head, and I'm like, "I'm gonna try that."
That's so fun. How far was it from when you first started running and becoming more consistent to your first full marathon?
Yeah, I was trying to think back about that, yesterday, so I was like, "Okay, I think 2009 was my
Okay.
first 5K, and then the first marathon was, like, fall of 2010, and it was
Oh,
a
wow.
trail one, and it was more hilly than I was accustomed to. Not a lot of support for fueling, but I didn't know what I was doing anyways. I think I ate, like, sports beans or something, but it took me I finished in, like, 4:07, so I was running for a while, and I don't know what I ate or drank, but I survived. It was okay enough that I tried again later.
Oh my gosh. That's wild. I mean, having that athletic background, it's so funny to hear you say that you didn't love tennis, but you were a walk-on on a Division
Yeah.
2 team. Like, it's so crazy. It seems like a lot of work to do for something you don't really love. So,
It was kind
makes
of a
sense that
timing thing, like, where
oh,
I went to college in Bemidji, and, though
mhm.
we had the Minnesota connection established a little bit, and,
Yeah.
I think it was like, oh, they'd graduated a bunch of good seniors maybe, so the team was in
Mhm.
a rebuild phase, like, "You play tennis?" I'm like, "Mm, yeah, I guess." I don't know, and it was so
That's
good because it kept me out of more trouble than I would have found like, I don't know. I wasn't making
yeah.
the best choices in college, so having matches, like, quite frequently, many weekends during the season, training early morning, weightlifting, kept me occupied. Of course,
Yes.
I had my studies, but I was still managing to, have some free time to horse around, so distract me from that, any trouble.
Mhm. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were able to pour into something that you didn't really love that much, it makes sense why you're able to pour into something that you do love so much.
That is one thing. I went for a run today, and I was thinking about that. I'm like, had I known how cool cross country is, I would have thrown tennis out the window way back, like, in high school. Like,
Yeah.
I saw that for the first time this year. My son ran, like, 7th grade cross country, and so I followed him around by default with the other kids, and I'm like, "This is a cool sport." People are so nice. They're happy you're cheering for everybody, like the other teams too. I like it. I'm like, I think that would have been way more fun than tennis. But I'm proud of the journey. It was good. I'm happy for it
That
the way it
that's nice. That's awesome.
So when you ran your 407, because for our audiences listening, we mentioned that you ran a 2:45 just recently.
Mhm.
That's a huge jump. So anybody that's starting at a 407, 410, for anything, 4x anything, they're probably sitting there with their jaw dropped, like,
Mhm.
holy crap, how did this happen? And so I'm very curious, like, when you ran a 407, was BQ even on your radar? Like, did you know what a BQ was? Did you even think that that was even possible? I'm just curious, like, when you were in that state, what was going through your head? Like, did you immediately want to go do another one? Did you love the experience? Was it like, I did it and I'm done? I'm curious what went through your brain when you were in that season of life.
Yeah. So the marathon was pretty random. I wanted to check that box was kind of the motivation. I also had a coworker and college classmate that had leukemia. So we were kind of doing a fundraiser, like step up for him. So it'd be like fundraising per mile. So a lot of his friends ran the shorter distances at that race, and I ran the marathon. And I don't know if we raised like a substantial amount, but we put in the effort. So I think that was a lot of my goal. And my mom came to that with my brother. I think he ran one of the races too. And that was it. I was like, okay, check. Trail marathons are a little different than I expected. And I'd heard of Boston just from there was a news article I'd read in my hometown paper about someone running Boston, but I didn't know how you got there or what times people ran. So it wasn't on my radar till the spring. I ran my first road race. And I think that's where I ran a BQ kind of not on purpose, stopped to tie my shoe, which I'm like, thank God it worked out. Okay. And then I was going to Boston. So that was crazy. The roads are so different though than trails. So that's one thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's so your first one was a trail.
Yeah.
Okay, that's wild. I mean, it's so crazy to think, like, I mean, with how hilly trails can be, that there was clearly potential in the marathon there. You probably wouldn't have recognized it in that sense, though. Because even if somebody now that is like a 3-hour marathoner, if they went out and ran a 4:07 on a trail, I would be like, that's super crazy fast, because I have a general understanding of how hard trail races are.
Yeah.
So
And it
that's,
varies so much, right? Like
yes.
after that, I think after running the BQ, I ran another race in between there, another trail, and it took me
Mhm.
4.5 hours, but I was in a
Oh,
lot better shape than that first race. It was just
mhm.
brutal,
Yeah,
exhilarating
that's
too, but
wild.
I like the trail stuff, but
That is wild. Here, do you have a question?
Yeah, I'm like, why the trail? Like, I'm just like,
I
what made you go back to another trail race, right? Like,
mhm.
I guess like I'm curious why you never dabbled into like the ultra scene at that point, because I mean you clearly have talent just in running in general. Like, it doesn't matter if it's trail or road, like you have some sort of aerobic like baseline that just maybe not even necessarily running related, but some aerobic baseline that and it could be coming from the hockey, the tennis, you're around horses, you sound like an overall very active person. Like daily lifestyle is very probably on your feet. You're probably getting 16,000 steps per day plus,
Yeah.
especially as a mom, I'm sure. But I guess I'm curious, like, what brought you back to another trail race? I'm assuming it was another marathon, and how come you never like thought to consider like the ultra scene? Like, what brought you back onto the road again?
Yeah, I think that was more like logistics because I became a mom, like, not long after that. I don't know. When I look back, I'm like, I don't know what kind of choices. Obviously, I did not have a coach because I was just all over the place. Um, but growing up as like a country kid, I feel like I ran around the pasture a lot, whether it was with my brothers or trying to catch my horses, which never works out. But I've always liked to be out in the woods and running around. So I feel like the trail felt like the adult version of you're just running in the woods. It's great. Um, but yeah, that was a really fun one. That 4:30 that I ran was actually an ultra you could have done. Like they ran the marathon, turned around and ran back. And for me, I'm like, that was a really long time to run. I don't remember what my longest training run was, but 4 hours and 30 minutes was a long time to move. Um,
Yeah.
but I think that was the year before I ran Boston. I did 3 marathons that year, which I noticed that training for that trail marathon helped my fall marathon that was back on the roads a lot. So it's like I could run so many more miles on the trails and it didn't make my joints feel I don't know, I feel
Mhm.
like you can get a little rickety when you first adapt to running so much mileage on road, and I felt like I could get away with a lot more and recover faster running on the
Mhm.
gravel, the trails. So it helped.
Yeah.
Once I became a mom and I had a stroller all the time, I'm like, I haven't really gone back to the trails since yet.
Yeah. I was gonna ask you if you once you became a mom, if that kind of shifted,
Yeah.
um, because I mean, obviously, mom like, adjusting to new mom life is
Mhm.
just hard in itself or an adjustment in itself, but then, whenever I see an ultra runner that's a new mom, I'm like, "How are they doing it?" Because ultra running is very time consuming, and just getting to a trail is time
That's
consuming,
half of it.
so
Yeah.
yeah. So it is more efficient to just pop out in the stroller if you're doing it like that. So for you though, you ran Boston and then you became a mom shortly after?
Yeah. So this is where the goals kind of gap. I was thinking about that. I'm like, okay, run Boston, check another box. And then for women's running, I'm like, there's kind of a big gap in goals after that. It's like Boston. Oh, and then by the way, OTQ, but I hadn't heard of that yet. And I don't know what the time was back in 2012, so it was a long time ago. But I had my wedding coming up the next month. So that was my
Oh,
goal. But yeah.
oh wow.
Yeah.
That's what so your wedding was right after you ran the Boston Marathon?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Um
That's
in May.
wild.
So I had like a month. My mom came with me to Boston. It was just a girls' trip, which was the best because she's very city savvy. And I would have been like, oh, how do I get to like To the athletes village? What? But it was nothing for her. Um, so on the way back, we just talked wedding details and got married. And so my first son was premature. So he was born like March 2013, the next spring, basically.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's
Oh
just
my
like
gosh.
fast track.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now
Yeah.
13. So that's crazy how time goes so fast.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah, it must be crazy to look back on that time. Did you run through your pregnancy?
I did. With him being creamy, and I don't know, it was just a different culture, I feel like, back then. And there's still mother runner guilt. Obviously, like I see Shanna's posts and things too, and people are so critical, but social media wasn't like this back then. It was more so coworker drama where they're like, "Oh, what are you doing?" Like, I did go skating once pregnant, which I'm like, had I not been a skater, maybe like
Yeah.
I was pretty used to skating. I'm like, okay, maybe you should. Not everybody should do that, but I did it. It was fine. But I just kept running because I was used to it, right? And I didn't run
That's
top, but I think I ran until I had preterm labor with him at like 33 weeks. I had to get like steroids for his lungs and saline and stuff, and he stayed put for 2 more weeks.
Oh, wow, okay. Oh, so he was born at 35.
Yeah, 35
Wow.
weeks, like just under 5 pounds.
Oh.
It was stressful because then it's like, okay, am I a high risk person
Mhm.
for the rest of my other pregnancies? But
Mhm.
for him, I actually, well, I don't know too much information, but I had a UTI and I didn't know it. Like I was dehydrated. I'm sure I didn't even know how much fluids a runner should have in general back
Yeah.
then. And I'm like, oh, everybody feels pain, like when you're pregnant.
Mhm.
That was a UTI, and I just didn't know. So that
Oh,
added to the premature labor.
wow.
But he
There
came out healthy. He was just tiny.
And there just wasn't a lot of information, I feel like, back then as much because we have social media now, so it's a lot more accessible to have this information or to even bounce ideas off of other mom runners or, I mean, I even as a seasoned runner and a seasoned mom, like I went into my first marathon in this pregnancy, like can I do this? Should I do this? Like, is it selfish for me to do this? And then, first, I mean, everybody's different, right? But this pregnancy, my first trimester, outside of the nausea and fatigue, like, for the most part, nothing really changed internally. Like, times were still pretty similar to pre pregnancy. And so I was still able to push quite a bit of mileage. And I remember having those same worries. Like, I would message so many moms. I would find other moms that had ran very similar times to what I was aiming for. And they were like, "Oh yeah, you're good. I ran a mile at 36 weeks pregnant, and it was like a 6:30." And I was just like, "What?" And so sometimes it's like it's hard because pregnancy brings so many different factors, and it's easy to blame ourselves for any situation that goes on with the baby. And sure, I
Mhm.
mean, unless you're like skydiving and doing things like that are just absolutely probably a little bit more on the crazy side, which not knocking anybody that's listening that's probably skydive. I've rode a roller coaster multiple times pregnant. So I just think that like there obviously are some things that we probably should refrain from. But for the most part, you were a very active person your whole entire life. You also were a runner, already ran three marathons at this point, before getting pregnant or something like that. And so it's not like this was like a new concept for your body.
Mhm.
And so I don't think the preterm um, labor or anything like that came from necessarily what you were doing actively. If
Yeah.
anything, that probably helped your pregnancy. And there's a lot of information that is coming out now talking about that like movement is good for women. Like even my own doctor is telling me, well, you're still able to go and do 10 miles. Like, you're good. Like, just be smart, And I really just appreciate having doctors that are educated and up to date on things that are telling these women that, yeah, it's okay to move your body. And if you don't have a doctor that's like that, get a second opinion. Like, obviously, like, if they give you a reason why you shouldn't be doing something and it's a high risk reason, then that's another thing. But if they're just saying to be safe, like I would definitely get second opinion. But Yeah, I think it's okay to feel that guilt. And I think it's very, very natural and normal. Like, even if you didn't have a preterm delivery, you would probably still question yourself along the way. And I'm sure you probably did anyways.
Mhm.
And you probably will into your other pregnancies. And I'm curious if you had that same struggle throughout those ones as well. Like, did you run through any of your other pregnancies? Because you have 4 kids now, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think one of the biggest things that I wish I could have told my first time mom self was that if the doctor doesn't have a like a similar mindset to us and our goals, we can switch doctors. 'Cause ours was very like he wasn't appalled that I was exercising, but he was like, "You're still running." And he was like, "Oh, I'm so stiff." Like he'd been on the elliptical and was complaining about his exercise. And I'm like, so I was signed up for a marathon to run at 10 weeks in that pregnancy. And he was like, "I advise you not to run it," which, whatever. I listened because I was worried with that first pregnancy. Um, in the hindsight, it was good because it was a trail marathon on kind of the Superior, like Duluth area coast. And it would have killed me, like, had I been not pregnant, because the elevation profile was like, "Er, er." So I wanna do that one someday. It's like the Moose Mountain Marathon. I wanna go there, and they do have the Ultra Series after that, by the way, so maybe it's a baby step.
Yeah.
But I need to train on, like, a imaginary hill or something to get there. But in the pregnancies after, we switched to a midwife and, home birth, so not to go sometimes that's a tricky topic too, but the key was she had a good relationship with, like, our local hospital in the bigger town next to us, and she trusted me to trust my body in terms of exercise. So I felt a lot less on edge. She did checks to see if I was dehydrated, like, at the pre I feel like all doctors should do that. It was just like a urine test to see how your levels were. And then the rest of my pregnancies were like 38 weeks, 40 weeks, due date baby for the third one. Um,
Wow, that's
mhm.
fun.
Yeah, he's so random. He was my midwife's 700th baby, and he's
Oh,
7 ounces, and I'm like,
oh,
2017? I'm like, "What are you, dude?" But
oh, I love that. I like love the my daughter is 222 of 22.
yeah,
She was born at 2:12 PM and it's my favorite thing. I should stop giving out so much of her information, but it's like so satisfying. Like all those sevens. That's so cool.
dude, we're done.
Yeah.
First 3 pregnancies, I ran, like, until the day I gave birth, and then the 4th one, I actually stopped probably at, like, 33 weeks.
Oh
Um,
wow.
and he was born at 39 weeks. So I'd been working with a personal trainer. So Heidi Greenwood has an Instagram, and she taught me like Pilates and prenatal fitness and all this stuff I didn't know with my other pregnancies. And she kind of gave me good advice where she's like, "Hey, if you're not comfortable, you can quit running." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." Some of my babies sat so far down in my pelvis that, and I don't know if you guys have found that with different pregnancies, like some are a little higher. By, like, 33 weeks with my last one, I was like, "You're hurting my pelvis. I'll just walk." But I still had strength training and Pilates to look forward to, so I felt good just to, like, be able to exercise in some facet like that. So,
Mhm. I
yeah.
love that. I love that it's not like a one size fits all for all pregnancies. Like, I think a
Yeah.
lot of times it's like, oh, well, this one was my first. So this is, this is what happened. And then the rest of them looked like this. Like, each of them can look so different. And like, I just have my two. So I just have two very different versions. But,
Mhm.
I like that, if you're not comfortable, you don't have to keep running. And like,
Mhm.
yeah, because it is I mean, it's a lot of pressure on your pelvis, and I was just talking to Shanna, I was like, "Do you think you should get it?" I cannot tell you how many times I talk about this belly band. She's probably like, "Shut up about the belly band," but I'm like, "Do you think it'll help?" But
Yeah.
sometimes it's just not enough support. Like, at the end of the day, like, they can sit really low, and then they can move up eventually, but, yeah, when they're sitting really low, it's okay to just say, "I'm not gonna do this anymore," and also, even when I had my son in 2020, they were still I did have an OBGYN that was like, nothing over 140 heart rate, like and so I was just sitting there and I'm like on my Peloton and I'm like, oh no, I love this bike ride so much and I love this song and the song makes your heart rate spike. And I'm like, oh, I can't love it so much though. I gotta, and that's like, yeah, it's like, but also walking up the stairs, I'd be at like 160 heart rate, I'm sure. So it was just like the fragility of pregnant people is so interesting. And it's so funny because like, if say like a young person had like a heart attack or something, they'd be like, "Oh, he's so healthy. He ran marathons." But the
Yeah.
second mother is doing something, it's like, well, she runs marathons. So that's probably the problem. And
Yeah.
it's just so funny how it's so different. It's like it's healthy in one aspect, but not in the other. So,
Yeah. The
yeah.
double standard is crazy. Because I'm not against eating whole packs of Oreos. Like, that was totally okay in pregnancy or normal life
Yeah.
as well. But had I been doing that at work with my first pregnancy, that would have been like, that's normal.
Yeah.
But when I'm like, and I didn't run a lot. During pregnancy, I don't. I was like, well, I guess I feel like running like 30 minutes, maybe 60 minutes on the weekends, but I didn't have the urge to, I don't know. I get kind of lazy, which is fine. I'm like, it worked for me. Um, but they wouldn't have criticized me if I just sat there and was eating treats. But because I was running and eating treats, like I did both.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yep.
Not on the pregnancy. Usually it was more like pickles and salt that I wanted, but
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
double
I
standard.
know. It's so true. Like, I think people do want to see you. I had a friend that I think she just wanted to see me gain weight. Like, if I'm being honest, like she was just so mad. She was like, "You're just gonna bounce right back," and I was like, "What if I did? Why are you mad about it? Like, it's not your body. It's not
Oh,
yours." But
I think you'd
you
want to
know,
encourage them because I think about the horror stories that they tell you too, often with the first one, probably not with your second and then like beyond. But
mm-hmm.
oh, that's terrible. Oh, just wait. When you have this birth, it's
Oh
gonna be
yeah,
bad. And I tore like this far. I'm like,
yeah,
what? No wonder
yeah,
I'm scared. Okay. But
yeah.
to
It's
each
so true.
like let them. You gotta experience it for yourself. It's fine.
It's so true. Oh my gosh, the horror stories. You're so right. Like they'll be like, "I tore from my chin to my butt," and I was like, "You did?"
Yeah.
That's
Wow.
my
What?
first. I was like, "That's crazy. I wanna have a normal life after this." Yeah, people will offer way too much information, or they'll be like, "I shouldn't tell you this," and then they
Well, and they'll still tell you. Yeah.
Or tell me after the birth. Like, I would love to hear some crazy birth stories, but I'm like, don't tell
Yes.
me in labor or
I agree. Or to her first time mom. Like, let her
Yeah.
have her first experience. Like,
Mhm.
let her go to her prenatal class. Let her like listen to the experts. Give all the like la di da di da fluff talk because they should go into their birth excited. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, I think there's always gonna be a little bit of fear. Are you kidding me? This is my 7th birth. Like, I'm nervous. My last one was rough. Like, I'm so nervous. I'm like, you can have the epidural if you want. It's not like you have to be a badass and like push through the pain. But I literally think about my last birth experience, and I was like, I felt like a first time mom pushing her out. I was like, what is going on down there? Can somebody report to me why her head is still not showing? Like, and anyways, it's just there's a little bit of complications going on, and luckily she came out eventually when she decided to, but it was rough. Like, it was rough, but there's something about like going through the experience yourself and like realizing, okay, if something does happen, I can pivot this way or I can adjust this way. And everybody needs that experience for themselves. Like, nobody needs to listen to what anybody else's horror stories are. Like,
Like,
I would never tell it to a first time mom.
just
Yeah.
helpful advice that they can use maybe constructively.
Yes.
Or like the
Yeah.
postpartum. Nobody told me about the postpartum stuff more so, where I'm like, I almost feel like that was harder than birth itself was
Yeah.
dealing with, or my last
Yes.
one. I feel like every time they're in adventure, my last baby was sunny side up, so that he's twisted during the birth.
Yeah.
And that was harder than my middle guys. Um,
Yeah.
but afterwards it was like, oh, by the way, this is my fourth one was my first kid to have a tongue tie. And that made nursing like hair like biting. like stuff
Oh,
to nurse. And you feel like a soldier like that's getting stitched up or something. Like,
yeah.
I don't it
Oh
was
my gosh. Yeah. The pain
not,
of that.
not every
Mhm.
time though. Like it was just it's really humbling because every time was
Yeah.
so different. And his tongue tie got fixed and every nursing was great after that, but still. Ah,
Yeah. I know nobody would have told me about a tongue tie. I know for a fact nobody told me about it until I was like, I mean, maybe because I mean, I didn't have any problem nursing, but I wouldn't have known to look for that night sweats. I'm sorry. Nobody telling me about night sweats that's psycho behavior. Like if you're telling me about how you tore, you should absolutely be telling me that you sweat so much that you had to change the sheets multiple times. Like, I would wear my hair up in this bun, and I would wake up and be able to wring it out. Like, oh my gosh, and I like, the fact that I had so many people that were, like, telling me insane stories or, have had how many children, and nobody was like, "Hey, by the way, you're gonna sweat so much." That's wild. Like, bring chapstick to the hospital. So there I am with like 8 things of Burt's Bees. Like, I'm just gonna be applying chapstick all day, but nobody wanted to mention bring nipple cream.
yeah.
Not one person.
Yes.
That's crazy. That is crazy behavior. So now every time I'm like, don't tell them anything weird about the hospital. Just tell them like, hey, you might sweat a little bit.
A
Lay down
lot.
a towel. Yeah.
Have your
For my
extra
second
ready.
More than you do when you
Yeah.
run in the summertime. You're gonna sweat more, like 5 times more.
it's so true. You
It's
just
disgusting. I remember
Yeah.
that coming back into running in 2022 and I had my 6th. I would wake up and I was like, do I have anxiety? Like,
Yeah.
what is going on? Because that was the worst I've ever sweat postpartum. And it was just like my body was in overdrive. It was just like, I wake up at 2 a.m. with a drenched shirt and have to take it off and change my clothes. And my husband would be like, were you wearing that last night? It's like, you have no idea what
Yeah.
happened between 2 and 3 a.m. Amongst feeding my child, I had to change myself.
Yes. It's so true. Or when he would reach over his hand and then he'd be like, why are you soaking wet? And I was like, oh, sorry. I'm just existing postpartum. That's all I'm doing. I was so prepared for the second one though. I had so many towels, like beach towels ready to go. I was just like, I'm not changing the sheets at night anymore. That's insane. But yeah, that's like my biggest postpartum takeaway other than just that nursing also will deplete you like crazy. So I didn't have any runner friends at the time and I wish I would have because it would have been nice to have like discussed that kind of thing. Like, are we wearing athletic clothes to bed since we sweat so much? And hey, am I not eating enough because all I do is make milk all day and then I can't run 2 miles straight and things like that, And that's why having community is so important instead of just, like make sure there's goldfish by the bed, like so you have a snack. It's like that's not going to take care of anything. So, yeah.
Oh, it's so true. Well, going back to some of these questions, I'm like, I could talk about this all day long. This needs to be its own episode because I feel like every week we have a group chat on our half, Amy, and I'm like, vagina chafing? Like, what is this? I've never experienced vagina chafing like this before. And it was because I wore leggings that had a seam down the middle. And it was the worst. I'm obviously pregnant and things are looking a little different down there. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, nobody warned me.
Oh my
But
gosh.
I didn't really run like this pregnant. Like I wasn't out there consistently running every day. I would do like an occasional run and then I want to run for a few days. So I never had the opportunity to vagina chafe. So
Amy,
anyway.
there's no TMI on this.
There's no TMI.
You gotta write that one down because I hadn't tried that either. Actually, I discovered it.
That was brutal. That was worse recovery than my marathon pregnant.
I believe it. Chafing is already the worst, but then on there, like there's
sad.
oh no,
I felt like I already gave birth. It was awful. It was so bad. But I am curious. So like after college, going serious now. After college, running became like a way of like balancing a desk job.
Yeah.
Why do you think like running was like so natural in that phase of life? Like what brought you into that scene? Like what made it like kind of just like fit into that like season that you were living with like this work that was at a desk?
Yeah. I just wasn't used to sitting so much. Or even as a college kid, I feel like you're in class, you're walking, sports, whatever. So the desk job was like, and there was no windows for sunlight until lunch. So I was like, I
Oh my
have to
gosh.
survive. I love the job though. And actually my coworkers and I would like play soccer with a little toy soccer ball at lunchtime or on breaks or something to kind of liven up an indoor sedentary situation. But I would like wear my work clothes and put my coffee in my backpack. I'd run to work. Sometimes I'd bike to work and just like quick shower in the middle story of the building. They had showers. And also my nursing room. So when I was pumping, I pumped in a room with a shower and I think there was a toilet in there and I alone. It was odd, but
Oh
I
my.
appreciated the privacy instead of like being at a desk doing it. Um, anyways, I don't know. I feel like I just ran to give myself some sanity. So like, okay, I can sit down now because I know I'll be up and then logging some miles, but I don't remember where I tracked them. I think the dailymile.com like existed back then. So, but I don't have training logs or anything. And now I keep everything, of course, but I wish I could have known because I have no idea what I did back then. Um, when I was pregnant, my husband and I actually started a running group in that town. So then we put it in the newspaper because it was still
Oh.
in the day. And but also first pregnancy stuff, like I didn't realize how much my life would change after having a baby. So I'm like, yeah, we can meet once a week in, the evening after work. And it was a pretty good sized group. I feel like we had like 17 people there once at like the high point. For a small town, it was pretty good. And that community was really nice. Like that somehow a newspaper ad and maybe on Facebook too, it brought people out of the woodwork. I don't know. For some running
That's
community. Um,
wow, that is really cool.
yeah.
That's so is your husband a runner as well then?
Um, not by his choice. I tell him he's a good runner. And when we were in that early stages of marriage, he was still in the Army National Guard. So he had to run like a 2 mile. And I think
Mm,
his fastest was like a 12 something. So I'm like, see, and he's getting back into running now.
mhm,
During the farm season, the winters when he can kind of run or train for something. So I'm like,
mhm.
oh, farm fitness, we're gonna run a 10K. And I think his paces he used to run feel like a distant memory. Uh,
Oh.
like he has potential. I don't know if he likes it. I don't think he likes.
Oh, okay.
I wanna
Your hesitation when I was like, "Oh, is he a runner?" And you're like,
He's a great runner. He just doesn't like I think he needs to like balance things out in his quads and like his glutes too, because he gets aches and stuff. But don't we all a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. The work stuff was it just I don't know if we had the running community changed though after I had my son. I don't know if the running group kept going, but between like the daycare and my husband was working out of town, I kind of quit going to the running group I started. So and then we moved. So running took on a different form of community then after that.
I'm curious. So, I mean, when you started the marathon distance and then you had kids and now where you're at right now, what does training look like? Because you said you didn't have a coach back then.
Mhm.
And so I'm curious, like, when you got a coach and how much did that shift your training, like, style or, like, outline? Like, what did your weekly look like back then versus now?
Yeah, okay, so starting to run in 2010, and then I'm trying to think what I did. So if we actually would talk about like I think 2018 or 17, I started reading the Hanson's Marathon Method. Felt like my first coach because it was like, by the way, you don't just run one pace. So that, because I was kind of burning out, I feel like having my first son, I trained for the marathon I ran after him, was almost solely with a stroller because I didn't have a treadmill yet, and the gym didn't have childcare. And my husband was always gone. So I'm like, okay, stroller miles it is. And then the pace, of course, was always probably in that like middle area. Never hard enough and probably never easy enough. Um, so Hanson's marathon method was awesome because it was like, these are the different types of runs you can do, some mileage goals. Um, so that led to some huge breakthroughs, I feel like, and then a good injury because I wasn't strength training after my third pregnancy. And I think that I took like 3 months off. Honestly, I can't believe I wasn't like, maybe we should try to have the fourth baby back then, but I eventually was able to run again. And then in 2019, the times kind of finally had broken through that 320-ish was a hard barrier. This is the fourth one now. He's getting old. He's 5. Isn't that crazy?
Oh.
But I was able to break to like 311, which was the farthest I got training on my own. So I
Oh,
had
wow.
Heidi Greenwood with the pregnancy with this guy. She helped me through like the strength and did some run training with me for my first marathon back. And then Dakota Distance, I joined in 2022 for CIM that year. And that's kind of where you don't mind kids on your podcast.
No,
um,
we have interruptions all the time. So don't
yeah,
feel like that.
perfect. You can go get a snack, or you can just stay there. Yeah, that's where it started stacking down because I was able to break 3 hours under Coach Pooley. And
Wow.
with him being my last baby in 2020, it's been kind of the first window since I started marathoning where I've had like 4 years of building instead of like kind of on and off again stuff. So
Mhm.
just feels different. This is why marathoning feels new, but I've been doing it for like 15 years.
Yeah, definitely. So you got a coach after you had your fourth?
Yep.
Okay. Oh, wow. So you're still pretty new to having a coach then.
Yeah. So he was September 2020 baby.
Wow.
And I always feel like when you're talking about coming back after babies, I'm not good at running postpartum. I find it very hard.
Mhm.
And maybe any fitness benefits from our blood volume. I feel like I underfueled so much because I didn't know how to fuel with as a regular person. And then adding nursing, I don't feel like you ever keep up
Yeah.
with what you need, right?
Completely agree. Yeah. That's why I'm so curious for you, Shanna, because you'll be so aware. And like, I think that'll be so much of it is just being aware of like, oh, this run it's a bigger run today. Like, I have to consume this much. And yeah, just being aware of it is so much.
After I'm done.
Yeah, I feel like there was a lot of shame around just like women eating in general. Like, oh well, postpartum is all about weight loss. Postpartum is all about bouncing back as quickly as you can, and that's where your like ego and drive is like get my body back really quick because that means I'm like a badass, And really, it's like it's not like, especially if you have like fitness goals like that do involve running, where you do have to like. I took a gel on so many easy runs. I would have never done that. Like in past pregnancies, I would have been like, I'm not taking this many carbs for an easy run. Are you kidding me? Like, but yet, like, if I wouldn't have done that on this build, like my marathon build, I would have not been able to carry that 70 miles. There's no way. There's just no way. And it was because I was eating so much. But with that comes a different type of body when you do feel what you need to be feeling, and that could be a mind F sometimes. But I think that there's just back then, and it's no knock to you, Amy, again, it's just the lack of education. Like, I feel like now because we have social media, we have access to nutritionists, we have access to registered dietitians, we have access to the running community of people talking about it now, and like almost like getting rid of the skinny fad, and like really like letting women just lean into whatever body type their body naturally wants to be when they are strength training, when they are feeling properly, and that there isn't like a weight on a scale number that we're all supposed to be aiming for, some magic number, but that it can look different for every single one of us, and that's okay. And I think that like all of us unapologetically should understand that like it wasn't any of our faults for any past behavior that may we cringe at now.
Mhm.
Because we just weren't educated on it. And I do think that education does bring a different outcome. And my gosh, like I'm glad that I wasn't marathon training in those past pregnancies because I probably would have ended up in an injury cycle like you, Amy.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't have been because like I was like trying to be something or whatever. It was just because I was following the guidelines that were out there, but were not made for runners. So
Oh, that is so true. And I also feel like the runner's body type has changed so much now, which is great because you see runners of all different sizes that are breaking all kinds of like barriers and goals that they're running. So I like to see that because that's another thing that I feel like has changed in my mind since when I first started running to now. Oh, because I had someone that was like, you know, you're too small for to be a sprinter, to be a short distance, and you're too big to be a long distance runner. So I'm like, oh, so this was back in college actually. Like that's a really gross thing to hear. And now you see like for the girls that are running the trials, even for the next cycle or that did the last cycle, there are all kinds of different
Mhm.
backgrounds and different builds, and it works. So I feel like what
Mhm.
a runner looks like has changed drastically too. And strength training is now trendy, where
So true.
I don't even know what strength training was doing in 2017, but I wasn't doing it.
Yeah. It's so crazy to think about, and just when we stand on a start line, how everyone does look so different, and it
Mhm.
has honestly, with how you look has nothing to do with how fast you're going to run. Like, there's a couple of people that I feel like I can admire because right now we're maybe on a similar trajectory, or they're just, like, ahead of right where I wanna be, and their bodies look nothing like mine. Like, and that's okay. It does not mean that I won't be as fast as them, or, I like it's just to reshape what that looks like. I'm very glad that I don't have that background in running for that in that sense, because I would be locked in on it. I'd be like, "Oh my gosh, I don't look like a runner. I don't look like a runner." I'd be very locked in on it, where right now it's like, if I just don't look in the mirror, I could just run really fast. My body type has nothing to do with it. So
Mhm.
it's like either you put in the work and eat the food, or if you don't eat the food and don't put in the work, and the goals are not gonna happen.
Yeah, it's so true.
Um
Also, it's all there's so much inside that we can't see for marathon potential. Like
Mhm.
I don't understand like all the technical side of it, but like what you could max out on at your VO2 max, or it could happen to anybody. I think of the most seasoned with all kinds of runners in your family, or you're the first runner in your family. Like you never know. It's fun. I think that's what's fun about running. It's kind of a wild card sport.
Mhm. It is. It is. I was just saying this. This is what I love about the marathon itself, is you can have a perfect build and still not know what you're going to do out there. You can like put parameters and hope for a time, and it could go that way or it couldn't. It's like there's always an element of surprise. And I mean, I'm sure that's the same with other distances. I'm just not as versed on them. But that when you start, it's going to be hours until you're done, no matter who you are.
Uh-huh.
You will take a couple of hours until you're done, and so much can happen in that time, and it's exciting. So there is just like this element of surprise and the unknown, and like that we get to tap into that. And some days that it's so much more than we expect, which actually rolls me right into, Amy, you did a 2:45 in December. Was that the goal, or was that an unexpected finish? Because you also had just run a 2:47 not that long right beforehand, which was your 2:47 a PR at the time?
It was.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Olivia,
back to back
were you at grandma's in 2025? Grandma's marathon?
No.
Okay.
No, I did 2024.
24. Okay.
Mhm.
Because, yes, I had been chasing like the 250 last year, sub
Mhm.
250. Grandma's felt kind of like a bomb. I think because it
Mhm.
was really hot and humid this year. I think a lot of people struggled, including me, because I missed it. I ran like a 251, which I'm still very happy about. But knowing like I had
Mhm.
more, I just didn't, I would also collapse from heat if I pushed too much more. Um,
Mhm.
So in the fall, that was the goal, but knowing I was doing these back-to-back marathons, it was like every woman's marathon had to be more on a good execution. So I finished feeling good enough to like recover, turn it around. And then the marathon project, I had been texting with my good friend and teammate Amanda, and I was like, so it could go really good, and I'll shoot for a 2:45. It could go not good, and I'll probably positive split because I'll find out halfway how tired I
Mhm.
am. And I'm like, then I'll just try to go under 3. I don't know. Like, or
Mhm.
maybe I'll just like death march it in. It's hard to know what could happen. But I was committed to running that one with her. And no matter what, I'm like, I wanted to see Amanda have like the best race. And it's hard to see, I guess. Well, actually, no. If you're going to watch someone race while racing, the marathon project's perfect because you keep like out and backing.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
I got to watch her have a good day too. And yeah, thankfully I finished like right in where the better end of my goal was. But it was enough so I had saw 2:45, like, ticking away on the clock, and I'm like, "Whoa," sprinting.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I was
Really?
yeah, because it was, like, 3 seconds under to get
Wow.
2:45, but
That is
yeah.
awesome. That is wild. I mean, it was really cool. It was, like, very, very exciting because when you ran your 2:47, that felt very exciting, and then to see you turn around and do a 2:45, it was I mean, like, because I feel like you've been making pretty good big moves, and we talk a lot about how once you hit a certain benchmark, I guess, in the marathon, like, your PRs just aren't going to be astronomical. Like, I had, like, a 17-minute PR and a 13-minute PR back to back to back, and it's because, like, I'm postpartum, I'm finally consistent and things like that, so you're gonna make these huge swings, and
Mhm.
then eventually they become smaller and smaller, and, I would, I'm excited about a 17-second PR and whatnot, but to see these like really big, I mean, you're taking off minutes again, and it's super cool to hear that you did at the Marathon Project. We're doing the Marathon Project this
Both
year,
of this
so
year. That's awesome.
yeah.
I'll
So,
be there with you, it'll be awesome. It's
oh, yay! Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
totally worth going back because I know there's this allure to, like, running the bigger races is great, but
Mhm.
I almost get more stressed out by the logistics and the, like, I don't know, when the porta potties I hate waiting for porta potties when you're like, "Oh my gosh, we take off in,
Yes.
like, 3 minutes." And I this
Yes.
was grandma's marathon this last year, like, in our corral is where? Like, so it the marathon project totally eliminated that because it was indoors, there's bathrooms galore indoors, sinks,
Oh my gosh.
the things
I
you
love
dream of.
things.
Yeah, like, no
I love
lines
that.
and even a shuttle that went from, like, the hotel directly to the race. I'm like, without a forever long ride, it was great, and I
I
would take
love
that any day, like a smaller race with less
Mhm.
stress trying to get to the start line.
Yeah.
Yeah, even to have
Yeah.
less people to run with, which was kind of a tricky part of this year, but that was also their first year getting back to this
Mhm.
race since having it like as just the elite race, of course, but
Mhm.
so it was a little smaller than I expected because with everyone's marathon, I ran like the last 16 miles alone, which
Oh.
was kind of it was okay. I feel like there was enough to look at that I was, "It's okay," and I'm like, "It's at the marathon project, it's gonna be packed, so I'll just make
Oh,
it here." And
yeah.
yeah, because I wrote a little I think I told you guys a little bit about the deciding to, like, drop off a pace group feels
Mhm.
devastating. Like,
Yeah.
psychologically, you're just like, "Don't leave me," but actually leave me because I can't keep up with
Yeah.
this right now. So, I ran alone for probably 90% of the marathon project, which was fine. Um,
Wow.
but they did have some really awesome pacers, so my friend, she had, like, the coolest pacer I've heard of. He knew exactly what you need to hear, and when you're in the hurt
Oh.
tank of a race, you know? So, this year, I'm like, "Okay, if that guy comes back, we're and we're not dropping." But,
That's really cool.
yeah, for pacing's sake, I'm like, I knew I couldn't run what they were, probably, like,
Mhm.
6:13, 6:15-ish right out the gate was too much for me.
Wow. You played
Well,
it really smart then, though, either way. Just knowing That's
had
Yeah.
really cool.
think of how many races. Like, I'm sure if you guys have had like we have maybe some blow up races that are totally miserable. And into 2024, I ran Fargo that way in a total positive split, and it hurt so bad. And it was a terrible, like, a coach would not be pleased with that execution. But so it kind of haunts me. And I'm like, well, you know what happens. Like, remember that. So that was a motivation to slow down and see if I could regather in that race. But it worked out.
I'm curious now with like how many marathons you ran with 4 kids. I mean, it sounds like you're chasing another possibly 2 in 2026. You'll be doing grandma's and then it sounds like you'll be coming back for the marathon project.
Yep.
So that's a full year. I mean, marathon blocks itself, it's so different than like doing a 5K or a 10K where you can race every other weekend if you wanted to. What does that look like? You know, I think you said you mentioned your kids are homeschooled, right?
Yep, we
So
kind
they're
of
home.
school. They take some classes at the public school for my
Yeah.
7th grader, and
Yeah.
the rest of them are homeschooled with just some extracurriculars elsewhere.
So yeah, pretty much majority still at home under your care.
Mhm,
You homeschool, you have the farming, you have, you know, you're juggling so much and then you throw marathon training on top of it, which at the level that you're reaching at and reaching for, I can only imagine it takes a lot of mindfulness of like recovery, sleep, eating right, strength training. Those are things that could kind of drop off in the earlier years of your marathoning.
mhm,
But right now, in order to reach for that next step, it does require those little 1% to be like very attentive to. And so I'm curious, like as somebody who is in such a busy season of life with such young kids, like how do you fit it in? Like what does your day-to-day training schedule look like? Like I'm sure that varies, but like do you have a certain pocket of window that you kind of created for yourself or your family has created for you to be able to show up to training so consistently?
mhm. Honestly, it varies so much in this season because I went from, especially when we lived in town, like in this small town, I had all my street lights, and I'm like, if I don't run first thing in the morning, it's not happening because the kids were quite a bit younger at that time too. So in 2022, we moved out into the country, the middle of nowhere, which, and I was like, well, if I break 3 hours and then I could be done with the marathon because I don't know how I'm going to train out here in podunk country. Like, um, but honestly, it's worked. My kids now that the oldest is almost 13, 10, 8, and 5. We're in a different season, which I appreciate. There's a lot more activities that are dragging us out, but the kids, I can turn my back and people aren't like climbing up the fridge or something crazy. So I appreciate that. And I also miss the baby snuggles. So I don't know, mixed feelings. But for now, if I'm fitting in mileage, like I think about peaking for this last cycle, it was a lot of doubles. And it could be like, first one is a treadmill. And like, I can do a lot of treadmill running because I'm still here. In the house, my older ones can work on school, younger ones could watch a show. Because obviously for lessons, so the preschooler, he's easy. It doesn't require much. But the second grader needs a lot of help with like the reading, specifically and math. And um, sorry, I'm trying to keep my train of thought. I would say now in this season, it's a lot of flexibility because my husband works a lot more hours. And every other day we're in town for my son's band because he loves it. And I'm like, this is enough of a value add that will co-opt these certain sports and extracurriculars. But so that means my schedule flips whenever his does. I just shove the rest of life around robotics, soccer, band, that kind of stuff, and it works. Totally against my personality, but it works. So I'd say, like, if I'm getting workouts in and key training, it's an early morning. It could be treadmill, mid morning, whatever. And I can run outside around our farm. We have a half-mile loop, and I run until my brain falls out, like just half-mile circles around our place. But it all kind of adds up into mileage and it works. Um, I don't know. It's wild. It's been good for me because now I'm just like, well, I don't feel like running, but this is literally how it's going to work. And you just go. That
That's
makes
awesome.
yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel like are you ever like hyper focused on getting a certain amount of miles per week, or do you not worry about that too much because you do have to stay so flexible?
My coach usually gives a range. And then this last season or last peak, my friend Amanda and I had like kind of a mutual goal of hitting 100 miles. And that was not something coach was like, do it. I'm like, I think I can if I get it into like 90. What is it? I might as well just keep running. And because with this older kids, I'm like, we can have activities after school hours. I can still run at night. Do you always feel like it? No. But and some of it, I'm like, if say it was during cross country season, I'll take my youngest in a stroller. My husband can have the middle two. I've got the one at practice, and I run around town, and I'm like, do I embarrass you? Like to my leader, I'm like, is that weird? I don't. No other moms are doing that. And he's like, no, it's fine. I don't care. I'm like,
No.
so I'm gonna juggle, however, and it got the job done in the fall. It's gonna look different in the spring. Like it just it's good for me, breaking all of my, like, rigidness. That's what parenting has done to me.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard. You have like it's hard when you have huge goals.
Mhm.
You're also making big moves. Like you're seeing the progress, you're seeing it add up, you're seeing the things that are hard to do. Like running 100 miles a week, it's hard to get there. Like I can't stop thinking about how are people doing this? Like even adding in doubles and it's a lot of miles per week. So, but you're seeing getting close to that range is paying off, and I mean, a 2:45 is a significant marathon time, and then, so it keeps sparking like, "Okay, how far am I gonna take it? How far am I gonna take it?" And so you want to see all of that continue, but as seasons of life change
Mhm.
and schedules, you have to constantly adjust, and so, it's interesting to hear definitely as your kids get older, like, yeah, they're not climbing on the fridge because that's still a big thing for us all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, why do I keep putting the yogurts on the top shelf? I do not know. That's but that's just constant. But like that, you still can't have that rigid schedule even when your kids are able to take care of themselves just a little bit better, even for an hour or
Their
so.
schedules change. Sometimes it's like, "By the way, we had a late night at a cross country meet out of town." Oh, when they have early morning practice, I'm like, "What?" Like, it's fine, except for I have a really like, when I can't leave at home sleeping. They
It's
won't
so true though. Like I relate so hard to that because I have those kids that are now like I have girls that are in dance 4 times a week. And it is time consuming. Like I feel like I'm in the car 24/7 and it's like, "Oh my gosh, how am I going to get back into the double run scenes when I'm postpartum with a baby on top of that?" And but somehow some way we just figure it out, right? Like you grab your schedule, and I think the more flexibility you have going into it, and I'm not like that when it comes to training either. I'm very type A with my training. But I've learned that like type A brings also missed opportunity. And so the less type A you are with your training, the easier it becomes to become flexible with it. And like, okay, I didn't get my cool down in. I had to cram that in between pre-K and going and grabbing my kids or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And so you have to kind of just like, I'm going to do that tonight, I guess. I'm just going to put my cool down in as my double PM miles and we're just going to call it good, or I'm going to move a workout around because I really want to do this one outside. And so it's just being very mindful of your schedule and like keeping the flexibility alive, because I think the more you are flexible, like you were, the easier it becomes to continuously show up and stay consistent. And that's the goal, consistency, not perfection, right? I think perfection drives us to not be able to do it again. And consistency is what allows us to continue to keep stacking. And so the more we can rid the idea of perfectionism as a mom athlete,
Yeah.
I feel like the better success we'll have long term, like you've been able to witness and see since 2022 to now, which has still been quite a few years of stacking, which is so inspiring on its own. So
No, and I think that flexibility and being okay with imperfection helps you on race day. Because I think that the marathon project was my 23rd marathon. And of all of those, I'm like, I think of I told you it was like not a magical day. There's some days I feel like you go out and run a marathon, you're like, This was great. I'm flying. Are we done already?
Well, did you say?
It's in the sink.
Did you say Eli? Did you say ask
Sorry.
Eli if I could bring those down?
Yeah, go ask Eli for help. That's the tall one is Eli. You need the tall one's help. Um, what was I saying? Oh, just being flexible with that. Because out of 23 marathons, probably for 2, I felt like I could run forever. And the rest of them, like the marathon project, for instance, Every Woman's Marathon did feel like you're just flying and, "Oh, we're done." That was great. The marathon project felt like an effort, like kind
Yeah.
of a grinder. And it's good because with motherhood, you are always, I don't know, I feel like you're used to grinding because a lot of the times you don't maybe feel like working out or you're tired, you're pregnant, or, whatever. Sometimes
Mhm.
I'm fueled. Sometimes I've fed my kids and I forget that I should eat too in training. It just makes you more able to handle the random stuff that happens on race days. Nothing's ever been the same, right? In a marathon, there's always something new that pops up, I feel like.
Mm. Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. There's always something to learn. And a lot of times the bad races teach us so much more than a good race because it's always going to be hard to replicate a good race. So, yeah.
Mhm.
And then also with motherhood, that we a lot of times have just limited time. So we're trying to squeeze in those miles. Like you got a 20 miler, but you only have 2.5 hours. Like, looks like we're doing moderate pace today, like
Yeah,
that's
and
just
it's not gonna
being
hurt, right?
realistic.
Like, it's, not gonna hurt anything if you don't have it, just so
Mhm.
most things,
Exactly.
right?
Yep.
Sorry.
You're good.
Well, just closing up, I guess, like, is there any words of like encouragement or advice you'd want to give to other moms that maybe are starting the running scene or, going for a big goal like you, in the grind of just raising kids, at any age? Like, is there any like piece of advice or any sort of words of encouragement that you want to leave with them?
Yeah, I would say just to
And can we play the games?
what?
And can we play all
You
the
can.
games?
Until I'm done, I'll come get you. It's great to be flexible. No,
Yeah.
I'm trying to be flexible as my type A is like, what was I saying? Um, I would say for the moms that are in the thick of it, especially young babies or pregnancies and stuff season, to do what you can in the season that you're in because it's changed so much. I feel like the goals and your mileage or whatever you're doing, your mission that you have with your running can adapt to any of the seasons. I don't know, because I my goals have changed drastically through each one of those. And back when I had like kids that were 0 to 4, I was not thinking at all about breaking 3 hours or even hitting like 60 miles in a week. I would have been like maybe 30 if I'm lucky. And that was fine. Like it still counted as like a base in the big picture of your lifetime mileage. So there's seasons for building heavier, and I think I'm kind of getting to that as the kids can kind of the oldest one's a baby, like he's old enough to be a babysitter, which is great. And
Mhm.
getting there.
I love that. And I love that you're leaning into the season that you can thrive in your personal goals and that you have been able to discover that you do have such a gift of endurance and speed and that you're only able to build on it. Like it has been every time you've crossed a finish line, it's been since I started following you, I don't know, I wanna say maybe you were a 2:54 or 2:57 or something, and it was just, like, I was like, "How is this person so fast?" And, I mean, and it's coming from someone who also just doesn't have that same background, like,
Mhm.
where we came into running just a little bit later, and that you are a normal person, you're human, and you're putting in the work, and that it's not always perfect, it's not gonna look perfect, and it's just been so inspiring to watch you chip away at these times, and, like, I'm telling you, when that 2:47 came in and then that 2:45, I was like, "Oh my gosh, she is, like, unstoppable." Like, whatever is coming for you next is gonna be so exciting to watch, we are thrilled for you.
I appreciate it, you guys. And
So you gotta
yeah, hopefully it's proof that like anybody can do things like this and go after goals that they didn't know existed.
Mm-hmm.
5 years ago. I don't know, 10 years
Yeah,
ago.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, and keep sharing your journey because it's just so inspiring. And sometimes it's just even seeing someone else do it, like, it just lights a little bit of that fire of like, well, maybe I could do something like this too. And that for anybody who's listening, like, it doesn't have to be sub 3, it doesn't have to be 2:45. It's just the idea that, if you're in a certain season, it doesn't mean that you can't lean into bigger goals and things like that. But Amy, thank you so much for joining us. And thank you everyone for listening. Since we're building, well, oh, we're not building a new platform. I don't have to say that part anymore. We do really appreciate the listeners if you can rate, subscribe, and share our podcast with another fellow mama. We really tried to hit on a lot of topics, just that it's relatable, and our DMs are always open for conversation too. So I always I always have some interesting things in there that I'll respond to that catch my attention. So we're always looking for moms to shout out. So send someone over that we can shout out. And yeah, thank you.
Well,
And see you later.
Thanks for
Bye.
talking.